Hello, and welcome to Amateur Radio Roundtable, the show about ham radio tonight. And we're coming to you on YouTube and also on international shortwave station WBCQ on 7490. If you're out there listening on WBCQ, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email to tom@w5kub.com and let us hear where you are and how you're hearing the station tonight. We're not a high-powered station. I think this transmitter only runs about 50,000 watts, so we're relatively low power for shortwave, but it is heard in quite a few countries and locations around. I'd like to ask everybody if you'll do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. We added a subscribe button down there on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. It really helps out YouTube to advertise our channel, and it brings new people to us, and that's what we like to see. We like to see new people join us. So hit that subscribe button if you will. Hey, hit the like button tonight if you like the show. Like also helps us. And you can also hit that little bell. That bell's a notification button, and if we ever come on during the week, not a regular scheduled show, but come on during the week, that will let you know that we're on with something special going on. So let's see some of the things going on. Let me invite you to our Facebook group. Our Facebook group is over 12,000 hams. In that Facebook group, just do a search for W5KUB. W5KUB, and you can join our Facebook group. We'd love to have you. And it's all about ham radio. And, a lot of people ask me to be friends on Facebook. Every few weeks I have to make this announcement. My personal Facebook group is mainly for family. I don't have, but not very many on there. And you can find me over on W5KUB Facebook group with the 12,000 other hams. That's where I usually hang out most of the time. I just don't want to get 12,000 people on my personal Facebook group. I think everybody understands. So don't get upset if I don't friend you. You're my friend over here, and we can chat anytime you want to. So that gets that out of the way. Everybody knows what's going on in the world. Haven't talked to Raisa in a while now. She basically has decided that she has to just put her videos and stuff on hold for now. In fact, I think she's probably having problems with internet in Russia there. Many of the internet, much of the internet connectivity over there has been shut down, and so it makes it difficult. So maybe someday we'll have Raisha back on here with us. Katie, I haven't heard from Katie in the last week or two. We talked here just a couple weeks ago, and she says she wants to get back, and she's on some drugs, and she had some surgery on her shoulder, and said that's it's given her a lot of trouble, and she's on a lot of meds, and didn't want to be on a show taking all those meds. So I think Katie will be back with us. Riley Hollingsworth will be with us next week. He's going to probably join us kind of regularly, and he used to be on our show several years ago. I think he's going to be coming back. Riley was the chief enforcer, special counsel to the FCC for many years, where he was in charge of the amateur radio service enforcement. So since then, Riley has retired from there, but he's taken on the job with the ARRL, I think, in this volunteer monitoring group, and so that's a real good fit for him still. Now, he may not talk about the monitoring program each time, but we'll talk about a lot of different things, and he can share with us what he can. Well, let's check out on our remote connections here. Hey, Glenn, how you doing, man?
Oh, hanging in there. We ended up getting that 4 inches of snow this last weekend. Fortunately, it all melted off the next morning, but I've been starting things up in the lab. We've talked to ARRL, and we're working on another book right now. So, back at full speed again, I guess.
Well, yeah. Hey, we did get the snow. Got a little bit of sleet or something, not much, but hey, I didn't even get to use my generator, man. And that snow, we got 5 inches here, and the next day it was gone.
That's a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Well,
I don't have a generator.
Well, I'll tell you what. Hey, if you ever get if you lose power, you can come up here and stay with me. Okay, we got extra.
There you go.
We got extra room upstairs there. Well, let's check out. See what's going on with Alan there. And I think some of that snow actually got up to him. Hey, Alan, how you doing?
All right. How you doing? Good to see you. And yeah, some of the snow made it up here into New Jersey on Saturday. Started off in the morning with rain and then sleet and freezing rain, and flipped over to snow by about 9:30 in the morning, and snowed till about, I don't know, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And we wound up with, a couple of slushy inches, but then went down into the teens overnight. And so Sunday was a pretty icy day.
Oh, wow.
Because it didn't get out of the low 30s on Sunday. But since then, Monday and Tuesday, we're both in the upper 50s and mid 60s. Today was in the mid 60s here. And it looks like we're going to be in a bit of a warming trend for the next several days. So what's left of the snow is quickly going away. So that's okay.
It was in the 60s here. It felt pretty warm today. I went out and did a little work in the yard, and it was pretty nice. I think all of our snow and bad weather, probably our winter, I think, is probably going to be gone now. Maybe we're in springtime now.
Yeah, I hope so. Knock wood that it's done. I'm done with it, so hopefully it's done with us.
Yeah. And it'd be time to get out there and kind of straighten up the antennas again and check them out and do a little adjustment on them.
Yeah, I want to do a little playing more with. I built an end-fed, a 49-to-1, transformer for an end-fed half wave. I did that in January, and I did a little video on that build. And then we had a warm day in February, and I did a quick check with a 40-meter half wave on that, and it looked pretty good. But I want to do some more experiments with it, so I've been waiting for the weather to get better again. I'd set up a temporary mast, literally a mast. It was at the 25-foot mast from an old sailboat. And I bolted that to a fence post, so it's got a pulley at the top, so it makes it really easy for me to let down the end of it, attach an antenna, hoist it up. So I want to do some more experimenting with that.
Well, I built a couple of those 49-to-1s here, and just played with them. I'm really not running a end-fed. Well, I am running an end-fed actually. I'm running a half wave. Well, maybe it's not a half wave. I think it's a 5/8 wave. No, that's a half wave. A vertical. I mean, it's an end-fed, but it goes straight up. Okay. Same matching and everything there. But I built mine up to handle a kilowatt. Now, the ballons, are you making a little bit smaller ballons?
Yeah, the one I got is the kit that's sold by the ARRL. It's actually an HF kit. It's only got one toroid in it, so it's probably good for a few hundred watts max. Yeah.
I think I built one or two up here where I doubled up the toroids in there, and it's supposed to handle more power. I really never. What I ended up doing out there to handle the high power, I used just a big doorknob capacitor and a big coil. And right. Just tuned that. So
yeah, the thing with the capacitor on that, because the capacitor goes on the primary. Yeah, the capacitor doesn't see the high voltage that's on the primary, but it does see a fair amount of current. Yeah, so that's why you need. Usually, people use a high voltage capacitor there because that can handle the current, but the doorknob caps can handle the current too. So
yeah. And back in the early days of TV, when I stripped those things out of an old TV, I never thought I'd be using them 50 years later. But now a doorknob capacitor is pretty expensive.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you talk about stripping things out of old equipment. It's a little bit of what we're going to talk about in my quick tips tonight. So we'll talk about that later.
Okay. We'll get to that, and then we'll open up the phone lines pretty soon right after that, and we'll take questions too tonight on some of these things.
Sounds great.
So let me give you guys just an update several things. One thing I'm going to talk about tonight is I'm going to talk about converting a computer power supply into a bench supply, and it's really easy, and it's kind of neat, and it'd be fun, and probably nearly everybody out there has got a couple old computers in the attic or somewhere that you're not going to ever use again, and you could take that power supply out. We'll talk about that in just a couple minutes. So I want to give you an update just real quick before we get into that, and talk about our flight 108, W5KB 108. We made it around the world once, and we're on a good start here to go around the Earth for our second lap. Don't know how many times we make it. We might make it 6, 7 times around. I just don't know for sure. But if you look at it right now, we are over Egypt right now, and there's a picture of the map. It's asleep right now. You can see it's still in the dark, in the darkness there, and so we're still traveling, but we're not transmitting just because there's no sunlight on our solar panels. So you can see right there we're right over Egypt. And let's throw the prediction on there. I'm going to put the prediction on there so you can see where this thing is going to go. So there's the NOAA prediction. And that's the same type prediction that you see on the hurricanes, on the weather, where they have different models. And you can see here, let me zoom in. You can see there's a lot of different models right here. And but they're all pretty tight, and they're all following pretty much the same path. So we're going to be we'll be coming live tonight, probably about midnight Central Time. That'll be about 1 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll be coming live again with W5KB 108, and we expect we'll probably be over Iran. I think we'll be over Iran here when it wakes up tonight, I think we can slip across there without them seeing us. It looks like, and then we're going to go a little bit high. We're going to go up in the stands up here. And then it looks like after we pass India, we're going to kind of come down kind of low. And actually, looks like we're going to come down as low as Thailand. And we're going to hit Thailand there, and then we'll hang a left, and we'll go out over Hong Kong right there, and then we're out in the ocean here. Looks like we may miss Korea and we may miss Japan on this trip. But that's kind of, well, that's what we're looking at right there. And if anybody wants to track the balloon, it's really easy. If they just go to our website, go to W5KUB right there and click balloon up there in our menu. Click balloon. You got several ways that you can track it. You can click this link here, and that will be APRS, and you can see our altitude and speed and so forth. The next button down is Hab Hub. That's the picture I was just showing you, the map I was just showing you. If you want to look at the whisper data, you can click the next link down, and it gives you our whisper data. Looks like we've been up 15 days and 9 hours and 30 minutes, so we're doing really good with this one.
When you go over the Middle East, are there any spots there where you're not allowed to transmit, that you're going to be quiet even if you're in daylight?
No, the only spots that we're aware of is North Korea, Yemen, the UK, and was there another one? Maybe Glenn remembers. I don't know. Yemen.
Yeah, there is. What is it? Yemen? Is it Yemen?
Yemen, yeah, Yemen, North Korea, and the UK. So you can come on down, and got some neat things here. I've got a link here for Ventusky. And if you really want to, you saw the proposed predicted flight. If you click on like this link or this one over here, the Windy or Ventusky, it's going to bring up the wind and everything at that level. I'm going to click on wind speed. There we go. And then right now it's set for 10 meters above ground. I'm going to go up to about 12,000 meters. That's getting close to where we are. And you can see the jet stream there. And you can see the jet stream is looking pretty good right there. You look over the Middle East right now. Let's see. I'm going to put my cursor here. Look at it. Man, we've got wind speeds of 154 going across the Suez Canal there, over 100 miles an hour. Over India, over 100. Let's just come on across. Over China, 150 in China, and we get out in the Pacific, and we're still looking at over 100 miles an hour here. So that's a neat little link. If you want to see see where we're going, you can click on that link right there, and that'll give you an indication of what the jet stream is doing at that time. If you scroll on down, I've actually got a map embedded here that shows you right now our balloon is over Egypt right there, and that is a moving map. We've got a video there of the launch. We got some description information down here telling you a little bit about the makeup of 108 and what we're trying to do and what we expect out of it. And then we've got just some random pictures down here of some of the other flights and some of the things that we've done to build the tracker. And you can see there's a part right there at the end of the needle. Some people are asking me, will I sell them a tracker? Well, I don't. Guys, let me explain to you what my problem is with the trackers. And I probably have built about 20 now. The problem is it's so small and so difficult. About 1 out of 3 do not work. And it's very tedious putting this thing together. I can occasionally troubleshoot one and get it going. Usually it might be a bad solder joint or something. But it just, once I get the little tracker built, there's more to it. I got to put the solar cells together. I got to put all the stuff together in a package. I got to test it because we don't want it going out. We want it working when we launch it. So I really don't build any to sell or anything like that. I spend probably a solid week in building one and testing it and getting it all packaged together. I can probably put a week into that real easy. So I really don't. Now Bill has a Sky Tracker that he sells, and it's pretty reasonable. And if you want to get with Bill, WB8ELK, you can get a tracker from Bill. It comes complete, man, with the solar panels on it. It comes with the antenna wire, the string. It comes with everything. It even comes with a balloon, a small balloon. So if this is one of your first flights, get with Bill, and I recommend it. You just purchase that. You can get a flight off pretty inexpensive for less than a couple $100. You can get your first flight off and get a little experience with it, and then you can expand. It probably took us about a year to get geared up with. I like to never found a soldering iron that would work this small. It also, to build this tracker, it also takes a rework heat gun. There's actually some parts on here that I have to put on here with air, hot air. I couldn't have done it without my microscope. If you try to build one of these, you need a microscope too. So that's one of the reasons. It's not that I don't want to help you out. I'll be glad to help anybody. And I've had several people talking to me, and I've been helping them out with balloons and helping them determine, what kind of lift to use and answering questions. So I'll be glad to help you. It just, I'm not in any position to try to build these at this time for other people. So that's kind of where we are on 108. We hope about midnight it wakes up again. I think we're on our good track to go around the world twice. Guys, I'm hoping for staying up 3 or 4 or 5 months. And I'm hoping for a bunch of times around the world. So we're going to wake up in the morning and see where it's been. It'll probably still be moving a couple hours in the morning after we get up. Hey,
Yeah, this one seems to be holding altitude pretty good.
This one is doing really well. This is a cheap balloon that we found that actually is almost equivalent in flying altitude to the SBS. I mean, we're flying at 44,000 feet now. And that's typically what the SBS balloon would fly. And in the past, there was not another balloon. Everybody's been looking for years, and we've been trying to make them and buy them and look for balloons, and we just couldn't find anything that would fly higher than about, 28 to 30, your cheaper balloons. Or you went with the SBS for $170, and it would fly higher and fly over the storms better. But that SBS balloon is very expensive, and we had some issues with it. So we're glad we found this balloon here, $23. I think we've also found the same balloon under a different name for maybe $16, and they're readily available out there. So it's a good alternative to that. All right, so hey, I want to talk to you tonight very quickly about a little project that I'm looking at here. I told you guys a couple weeks ago I was going to build me another power supply. I got a little variable bench supply I use for everything. And I don't know why I need another one, but I was going to build me another little supply. And I had bought one of these little buck boost converters that it's got an encoder wheel in the front and a readout here, and it will actually read the voltage and the current, and you can adjust it. Let's say if you have a 12-volt supply, you can put this on a 12-volt supply, and since this is a buck and boost, this will actually let you adjust that voltage from a half a volt up to 30 volts. So that's kind of cool. And it's just a little package here, and it'll snap in. You just cut your little rectangle hole and snap that in to your case. But I think I'm gonna do something a little bit different on this one, and I'll keep this for a third project. So one of the things that it interests me, I never done this, but I've been looking into it, and it looks really simple, and that is, turn a computer power supply into a bench supply. Now, I'm sure everybody probably has one or two junk computers that you just won't give away, but they're up in the attic and they're so old, or XP or whatever, and you just, hey, the hard drive's bad, whatever, slow. The power supply in here is a good power supply. Get that power supply. And I pulled out a little, ATX supply here. This is what they look like. You probably got one of these in your attic. Got some forced air in it. It's got a bunch of wires coming out. Lots of wires that come out of this thing. And you might think, well, that's there's too many wires coming out. But there's a real simple solution on this. Let me open this up, and I'll show you just a quick inside of what it looks like. So, it's pretty standard. It's a switching supply. There's no transformer in there, like one of your really heavy-duty, linear supplies. This is a switching supply. But, a lot of these small supplies that Hams buy are switching supplies. And that's exactly what this is. Now, I was going to try to mount this in this case right here, but I don't have a lot of room inside here with everything going on, so I've decided not to. So I'm gonna do something a little different with this one. So let me show you what the wires and all the other things are here. Let's look at this real quick. So there's a lot of information. I pulled this off dronebotworkshop.com, and he's got a great write-up and pictures and even a video on how to convert these things. But that's an ATX computer power supply there that he's turned into a bench supply. There's a picture of the inside. Looks just like the one I showed you there. Now let's look at something. Here's the label on mine, and if you look at that right there, you see 12 volts at 17 amps, and you see 12 volts at 10 amps. Okay, just remember that. There's 5 volts up there at 13 amps. There's 3 volts at 10 amps. Got some pretty good current handling. Now on my workbench, I don't need 20 amps or 25 amps, but I think you could easily get 27 amps out of this power supply. Now, if you look at the wiring here, the colors mean something. Now, there's 2 different ATX power supplies. One of them has a 20-pin plug on it. This particular one here has a 24-pin plug on it. But it's basically all the same wires, and they're color coded. For instance, if you look at orange, the orange is 3.3 volts. All the oranges are 3.3 volts. All the reds are 5 volts. And the yellow is 12 volts. And of course, black is your common or ground. Now, so let's look at this picture right here. Okay, this is a little better picture with the colors out there. Now, the thing about it is, to get the current out of this thing, you just tie all the same color wires together. Just cut the plug off, and you can tie all the yellow wires together. That's your 12 volt. Tie all your red together, 5 volts. Your orange is 3 volts, and that gives you more current there. So if you were using this as a 12 volt supply, on mine, and mine is a small supply. This is a really old supply, but if you look at the thing here, you got 17 amps and 10 amps. I think that's 27 amps right there. Now, if you're not pulling current out the other parts of this power supply, that's even better, because that gives you a little bit of extra that you can pull on the 12 volt side, where you're not bogging the power supply down. So if you look at this, there's your colors there. Now there's a couple special leads in here. There's a green lead. That's your power on. Your power on lead. It's a power sense lead. There's a power good lead, and there's a standby lead. And let's see. There's also a -5 and a -12 in here. Now, hey, let me tell you, if you just wanted a -24 volt power supply, you can actually hook the -12 and the +12 up, and you'll have -24 volts there. The same way you can use any combination. You can use the -5 and the 12, and a -5 and a 12 would give you 17 volts. So that's kind of neat. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this up. Let's look at the voltages again here. So we got ground, 5 volts, 12 volts, 3, and so forth. Okay. So here's what the author on the web showed. So it's pretty basic. As I mentioned, the orange is 3.3 volt. Now he did put 3 fuses out there. I'm not going to put fuses into my leads, because the power supply has internal sensing mechanism in it, where if there's a short or a problem, the power supply will shut down. So I'm not going to put these fuses on there. I probably won't put a standby LED on there. I'll just put a power LED on there. You notice that gold thing down at the bottom, kind of toward the left, that's actually a resistor, and you have to tie the 5 volt lead to ground through a resistor. And And what that does, that loads it down and it makes the power supply work. Now, some power supplies will run without that resistor in there, but my research showed that if it's not loaded down, that it will not regulate very well. So it takes something like an 8 to 20 ohm resistor, about a 10 watt. I've got some 20 ohm here, 25 watt. These are neat little resistors. You can put a little dope under there, and you can actually screw them down to the chassis to help support the heat. But again, this is a 25 watt one here, and I think you need about a 10 watt power resistor. So this will go inside my box on the 5-volt lead just to kick it off and to make sure that it's running, it's regulated. What I might do in this one, and I showed you this, I think I might, well, maybe I didn't show you this in a while, but on eBay you can find many of these things. This is just a little snap-in voltage and amp meter, and it's really nice. So you can read the voltage on the top line, you can read the current on the bottom line, and I've got one here that not very deep, and it'll actually just snap in. So if I can cut a rectangle hole in this case over here, I'll probably snap this in, and I'll probably put that on a 12-volt side. What I'm going to do is, in the junk box, I had some, what do you call these, Glenn? Glenn? What do you call these, Glenn?
What is it? I can't see it.
Banana jacks or?
Banana jacks. Yeah.
Okay, but banana jacks. Couldn't think of the word. So I've got some banana jacks. Here's the red one, but it didn't have a hole in the front. Now, the nice thing about the hole in the front is you can plug in a banana plug into it. So I'm going to put these duals. I've got some of these duals here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 of these on my box over here for 3 volts. I'm going to put 2 for 5 volts, and I'll put these 2 in there for the 12 volt. And I probably will snap this in and put this on the 12 volt side. And I have a nice little 12 volt supply there.
I was wondering, Tom, you mentioned connecting like the 2 12-volt leads together. Since they have different current ratings on that power supply, that tells me that they're running in kind of separate regulator loops.
Yeah.
And it also tells me if you connect them together, are they going to fight each other a little bit if they're just slightly off?
Well, I think they would be off if the voltage was different. If the voltage is the same, a difference in current, I don't think is going to make them feel off to each other.
Yeah, but if one's regulating to 12.1, the other one's rated to 12, the one's going to keep trying to pull the other one up and then dump current into that one to try to bring it up.
I don't know. That's something that we'll play with. That's a good question, Alan.
Now,
that's
I wouldn't
something
think
that
you'd want to tie them together.
That's what I'll look at, and we'll do some measurements and do that. I was just going.
I was in a 10-volt ammeter and stick it between. If you connect them together to see if you get any current flow one way or the other.
Yeah, and since I haven't built it yet, I was just looking at all the directions. There's several nice videos and websites out there showing how to convert these, and that's what they were recommending. But you know what? We may find something wrong with that. We may fix it, works better. So yeah, we'll look at that and give everybody a report on it after we get it going. And then
and N7XGR kind of put a link to an eBay item that is basically a little circuit board that's got the 24-pin connector at one end and a row of banana jacks at the other.
That's true. You can actually buy a board that's got the matching 24-pin plug and just plug into this, and you've got a power supply. You don't have to do any of this. So that's another thing I was going to mention. Thank you, Bruce, for telling us about that. I forgot, but I did want to mention that. So
one was 17, one was 10.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the things that I have done is, a power supply with like 17 amps on the 12 volts. They make pretty decent mobile rig power supplies for the shack.
Yeah, yeah. And, if we think about it, I think, and Alan, you got a good point there. We do need to do some testing and check that out. It's like, well, not sure what it's like. I would, I would think it. I would think if the voltage. Right? I think if the voltage is different, would probably have completely different problems if the voltages were different. But
but I mean, even ones that are rated to be the same, they're not going to be exactly the same. So,
right.
There's going to be a difference.
Yeah. So we'll hopefully I'll get that done pretty soon. What my plan would be just to probably just on the side here. I'm going to put. We'll have 3 volt, 5 volt, and 12 volt up here, and I'll probably try to snap this in on this side over here to measure my current and so forth. But before we permanently just tie all the wires together, we will put some amp meter through there and see what the difference is, and it's pretty straightforward, everything we've got to do here. For instance, to turn it on, we just have to ground the green wire. And if you look at the little switch there, the green wire is your power on, and you just ground it, and it turns it on because you got voltage on the power supply all the time anyway. So
now Mike in the chat room is kind of echoing my thoughts on this, which is all of those wires of the same voltage come from the same tie point. It's just that the wire gauge may be different.
Yeah, and that is a good point, and I'm looking at it right here. They all do come from the exact same tie point. So,
okay, if they do, then then, right. But it's just odd that they kind of rate them at different current levels.
Yeah, but, I'm not sure why they do that unless
if they're soldered to the same point on the board. Then,
that doesn't really make good sense, does it?
Just the wire gauge then at that point.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
Or
but
on the ATX connector, it's rated at that from some standard from years ago.
Right. Yeah. Okay. If they're all, like I said, they're coming from the same tie point on the board. Then heck, just
I guess that
go right to your
I guess that solves the problem of tying them together, doesn't it? It's right. There, so.
No need to do it.
Yeah. Well, I might want to just so I can have a little bit more current than one of the smaller wires. Maybe 2 of them or something. Yeah. But hey, thanks for telling us that, guys. In the chat room and. What about harmonics from electronics? I don't know. I've got
the switching supply. You're going to have some noise. Yeah. But as a general rule, I haven't found it. The modern supplies, they're relatively quiet.
I haven't either. I've got a what's the supply called with the transformer? Is that a linear supply? Or,
a linear supply.
I've got a linear, a hefty Astron big supply here. I run things on, but I also have a couple.
50-pound.
Yeah, the 50-pound. Yeah, but I also have a couple of the smaller, 25 amp little switching supplies, and I've never had any problem hearing noise off of them. There probably is some. In fact, I've got one here, switching supply, and it's a.
But you're going to talk about the Alinco.
I was going to say it's the Alinco with the pot that you can shift.
I got one of them too. I'm looking over at the DM330MV.
This is the Jetstream, and I imagine the same people make them, but I got a Jetstream over here, and it's got the knob on the front to shift the frequency.
But I've never had any noise out of my Alinco.
But I have played with it.
It just moves it out of band.
I have played with it and turned the knob, and I never heard any noise anywhere I put the knob on it. So
Yeah, and the amount of noise they'll generate will also be a function of how much load you put on them too.
So. Yeah. What about harmonics? Let's see. ICOM requires a 13.8, or they will not work.
It probably depends a bit on the rig.
I was going to say it depends on the model.
Well, and I've noticed that, and I tried to put put a 7300 in my truck one time, and when the key was turned off, when the motor was not running, it wouldn't transmit. So he's actually right. It needed that 13 volts to.
But I've got I got a 706 that would run on 9 volts.
Yeah, it'll receive fine on 12 volt, but it just wouldn't transmit on that. And
I think my 706 would run down to about 9.6 and would transmit. It wouldn't do 100 watts, but it would transmit.
Yeah, and of course, a number of different people, MFJ and others, make I guess it's a boost that you can put on your car to boost your voltage up to the 13 point.
Yeah, they just released a new one, by the way.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. I don't know. I think they call it the Pro or whatever, but they have their battery booster, and then they just released a new one because I saw it down in Orlando.
Yeah. All right.
It almost came home with me.
What was that?
It almost came home with me.
Oh yeah. All right.
Yeah, but I had 12 pounds in my suitcase of spare weight allowance. So I was really, stingy on what I could buy.
Well, you could always throw away some clothes and stuff, and
or find Joe Eisenberg and use his spare suitcase.
Yeah, right. All right, well, guys, I hope that was interesting on the power supply. We're going to try to put it together, and I really don't need it, but it looked like a neat little project to do, and we're gonna put it together and see how it works. Okay, we'll be back in just a minute. Everybody just stick with us. Alan has got some great segments coming up here. Didn't get everything on your holiday list? Now is the time to spice up your ham shack with ICOM's new ID52A handheld. This radio is perfect for staying in or venturing out. The ID52A is now shipping. ICOM's newest handheld amateur radio is a VHF-UHF dual bander with D-Star and FM dual mode functions. This radio supports conventional FM communications and D-Star simplex and worldwide calls over the D-Star Internet Gateway. The ID52A is the first handheld amateur radio with a full-color 2.3-inch waterfall display and the ability to send photos over D-Star with a connected Android phone. Features include a wideband receiver with guaranteed range of 144 through 148 and 440 through 450 megahertz. It has an integrated GPS receiver, including grid square location. It also has a micro USB for data transfer, programming, and charging, and it's IPX7 waterproof. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios.
LDG Electronics provides state-of-the-art antenna tuners for every amateur need. From QRP to QRO, fixed stations, portable and remote, an LDG tuner will match your radio to your antenna using our lightning-fast, proprietary tuning algorithms. LDG is a family-owned and operated company dedicated to bringing innovative, quality products to the amateur market. All LDG products carry a full 2-year warranty that is fully transferable. Support is only a phone call or email away. We're always here to help you. Visit us on the web at ldgelectronics.com.
All right, and we are back. And let's, Alan, what are you going to talk to us? You always have such great deals there that make us think. What do you got for us tonight?
Well, a couple things. I mean, it's actually probably a good topic for tonight since you're talking about projects for the lab and on the bench and things like that. So I was thinking over the last couple of weeks, 2 of the videos I did, I called quick tips videos, and they were just short, like 2 or 3 minute videos that introduced a little thing that, to think about, that, maybe a little tip or something like that. One of them was little guys like this guy here. I don't know if you can see this. Looks like a little SMA connector, right? But it's an SMA male on one end and a female at the other end. And you say, what good is that? It's just a really short length of coax, right?
Yeah.
But what that is, it's called a connector saver or a sacrificial connector. And what we use these for is on equipment that have got connectors on them, particularly ones that might be sensitive to handling. maybe like an SMA connector because it's kind of delicate like this, or connectors on an expensive piece of a test equipment. If that connector that's attached to the test equipment gets damaged, right, you're talking about a big bill to replace that, because now you got to pull the equipment apart and maybe have it recalibrated or something like that. So what you often do is you put these sacrificial connectors or connector savers on the end of the equipment, so that if this connector gets messed up, you just pull this connector saver off and you put a new one on there.
That's cool.
And you really preserve and save the connector that's on the piece of equipment. Okay, so I use them. I've got these little SMA ones that I put on my Nano VNA. Even though the Nano VNA isn't that expensive, I do it just because I don't want to have to unsolder that Nano VNA connector. Now, of course, you also have to consider the fact that hanging this off the end of the Nano VNA, is going to make a little bit more of a lever arm that could potentially damage the Nano VNA. But if you're careful about that, it's not a bad idea to use these connector savers. Now, where I generally use them a lot more is on something like a more professional VNA, where it might have an end connector, which is a good beefy connector. It's not going to get damaged that easily. But a VNA is one of those instruments that you're always connecting and disconnecting things from for calibrations and things like that. So having a sacrificial connector there is a good idea. Another little tip on any RF connectors, especially those that can go up to several gigahertz, and something that I'm not as careful about as I should be, is when you're connecting them up, you really want to use two hands or two wrenches, because you don't really want the center pin to spin. You don't want the center pin to spin in its receptacle, because that scratches the connector. It could also distort the fingers on the socket for the center pin. If you're talking about inexpensive SMA connectors, you're running them at VHF or UHF, you're not really going to notice a difference. But you start operating at 5, 10, 15 gigahertz, that does make a difference. So you really want to be careful about, when you put these RF connectors on, is to, when they mate, keep the body of the connector from spinning and only turn the nut to tighten things up on and off. So that's just the one quick little tip, is connector savers. Not a bad idea to have to preserve the pristineness, if you will, of the connectors that are on your pieces of equipment. The other thing I thought I'd talk about is sources of useful bits and pieces that we use on the bench all the time. And one of the things that I kind of focused on in my last video on this was sources of just bits of wire. Inside, if you ever open up consumer electronics like VCRs and CD players and stereo equipment, especially from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, you'll find lots of wiring harnesses in those things. And I've, for years, have been stripping out the wiring harnesses out of those things before the rest of the stuff gets stripped out and tossed. Because, not only is it a good source of just, pretty decent quality wire that usually stranded, so it's flexible and things like that, and good for working on little projects and things like that. So it's just a really nice source of that. But there's actually a couple of more interesting things about it that are really useful for us here when working on stuff on the bench. One is that a lot of that wire, particularly if you're into a VCR or a tape deck, sometimes that wire are little bits of shield wire, little bits of coax. This is actually about a 2-foot length of shielded wire. Now, it's probably not 50 ohms, but if you're just looking for a shielded piece of wire to keep a sensitive circuit from picking up noise or something like that, I might have to go measure some of this stuff to see what impedance it actually is. But if you want to go out and buy some bits of thin gauge shielded wire, that costs you a pretty penny. You can get it by the handfuls in an old tape deck or an old VCR. And sometimes it's already kind of broken out into, soldered ends at one end, and then sometimes even has a little connector at the other end. But you can get, little pieces that are a couple inches long to sometimes, like I said, this one is about 2 feet long. I pulled out of something, I forget what, but I got a whole box full of this stuff. And I use it fairly often. So that's another handy little bit that you'll find inside some of the old equipment. And then finally, what I've also found is that a lot of them will have these little tiny, connectors to connect up to little sockets or little pins on the board, little like 25 mil square pins or something like that. So you got these little socket, type of things that are at the ends of the wire, already pre-soldered or pre-crimped and ready to go. And what I found is kind of interesting is that these make really good test sockets. If you want to test, for testing capacitors, diodes, transistors, things like that, especially things like transistors, got 3 leads on them, and you're trying to connect up to a little transistor checker, and you can't hold 3 probes, with 2 hands very easily to hold against these wires when you want to test a part. And using the alligator clips, oftentimes, the clips will short because those leads are all close together, especially like on a little TO92 can or something, TO92 transistor or something. Those will all slip really nicely into one of these connectors. Just slip those wires where the plug would normally plug in. So it makes really good test sockets that you can use for your LCR meter, for your transistor checker. If you're looking to have something like a curve tracer, really nice. And what I did with this particular one, it was only about 6 inches long. So on this end, it's got my test socket for diodes, transistors, and things like that. And on the other end, I just put 3 little banana plugs. So I can take this little wiring harness, plug it right into my transistor checker or my curve tracer, plug the transistor in there, and I'm good to go. And what did this cost me? Well, the wire cost me nothing, and I picked up a whole pile of these little banana plugs at a Hamfest years ago. So it really didn't cost me anything but a little bit of time. But there's an incredible amount of good, useful bits and pieces like this if you start stripping out some of that old electronics. Now, some of the newer stuff, stuff from that might only be 10 or 15 years old, they got more and more highly integrated. And there's fewer and fewer wiring harnesses in them. It's just a single circuit board. Everything is kind of modular and plugged together. You don't have the wiring harnesses that you find often in like stuff like the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So act while you can still get your hands on some of this stuff and pull some of it out. Even as these old power supplies from the the computers. That wire coming out off of those is generally a pretty decent quality, high temperature, reasonably high temperature stranded wire. Again, a good source of hookup wire to use for your own projects and things like that. So don't overlook that stuff. They might be really useful for you in the bench, when you're working on the bench. And I thought we'd kind of do this segment now. Here we are about 5 minutes before we open it up to the rest of the world here. And I'd love to maybe continue the discussion with the rest of you folks to what other tips and tricks do you have that you find really useful in working on the bench? Because it's kind of like a electronics workbench hobbyist type of episode tonight. So, but that's all I really had. But just some useful little tips to think about and trying to build up your stockpile of junk to build your projects on the bench.
Well, one of my favorite sources for wire is the ribbon cable that they use to connect the drives. About half the time, 2/3 of the time, it's stranded wire, not solid core. So you get these nice little 12, 18 inches lengths of ribbon cables, and then you can peel them apart based on the number of conductors you need.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So if I'm going to build an Arduino cable to talk to a TFT display, that's 8 pins. So I'll use one of those little 8-pin DuPont connectors and put the little crimp connectors on the end, and I'll strip off 8 conductors worth of ribbon cable, and boom, I've got a built-in cable.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Hey, another little tip, and I've shown it here before. A lot of times I'm building things that might be powered with a 9-volt battery, and the little 9-volt clip and the 2 wires that usually you don't have them, or you got to order them. Hey, just take an old battery and take your cutters and just bend the metal back around that top and just pull that top off an old 9-volt battery, solder you a couple leads on it, and you've got your 9-volt clip.
Yeah. I went ahead and ordered 20 or 30 from eBay for $1.50 at some point down the road.
You just got to watch. Sometimes you get some decent ones. Some of them are the first time you try to remove it off the battery, the little snaps stay stuck on the battery. You're left with a hunk of plastic and 2 broken wires.
Yeah. I've been real lucky. I think I've only had 1 out of the 20 do that. The other ones worked fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to pay attention. I just went through a round. I ordered a print head for one of my inkjet printers, and the guy's ad stated that it was this model number, and he shipped me something else, and we went back and forth for 2 weeks. Fortunately, it was Amazon, and Amazon finally stepped in and said, "You will give him his money back."
Okay.
Oh, we had a couple people join us. Hey, I guess we've now gone into the after the show. Everybody, Roundtable is about an hour long, plus or minus, who knows what. And this is a part of the show where we invite everybody in. It's called After the Show. So please join us, and we'll be glad to have you. And you're on the video show when you join us on Zoom here. And we got a couple more people here.
First thing you got to do is give Charlie a couple of demerits. He missed the time change and he was late.
Oh, no. Do they not do daylight savings time down in Uruguay? I don't know.
Well,
probably not.
Have I let everybody in that's connected? Let's see. I think so. Okay.
Well, I see Bill. I see Charlie. Well, I don't see Charlie, but I see that Charlie was here.
Oop, wrong button. There we go. Okay. Let me post the link again. Let's see. Post this link again for everybody. Come on, guys. You need to participate with us.
Well, one thing I didn't mention earlier is this past weekend was the QSO Today online expo. They had like 60 speakers, so 60 online forums, and it was really, really nice. They've enhanced the whole platform. They had little lounges where you can get in and chat, and it was all video chatting.
Thing is really like a convention or something. I mean,
they've really enhanced it.
How was the food court?
Well, it was a little cardboardy, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the food court was your own kitchen at that point.
Yeah, but the overall experience was very, very good.
Yeah, I know last year they had some real problems with the platform, and I was just busy this weekend and didn't get a chance to even join up this year, so I didn't get a chance to go into it.
They did really nice. I think they said they had like 4,000 people attending, and it didn't feel that way. Everything went very smooth, and like I say, being able to go to one of the lounges and sit at a table, you could have multiple tables in this lounge, and you would have to move your icon or your avatar to this particular area, and you would join that conversation, and you wouldn't hear any of the other conversations.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was very nice. Joe Eisenberg and myself and a bunch of others had a little round table going.
Nice.
And now, don't you have the Trenton Festival coming up, or has it already happened?
No, that's actually this coming Saturday is the Trenton Computer Festival, which has been going on for over 50 years now. And it's always been a combination of a computer festival with a bunch of talks and panels and things like that, as well as a bit of a flea market for both computer and ham radio related stuff. So it's like a ham fest, computer fest. And then for the last, I don't know how many years, but certainly for the last 10 years that I've been doing it, we've been running a ham cram. So that's going to happen on Saturday, and where we basically take about 4 to 5 hours to review, certainly can't teach, but to review the material for the technician class exam. And I base all my presentation materials on the KB6NU No Nonsense Study Guide. And so I've got about 190 slides that we go through just to review the material, to help people to realize what areas they're strong in, where they've got some questions, spend some time reviewing those areas where folks are weak, run a couple of practice tests, and then follow that up with a real VE exam. And over the last 10 years, all but I think 1 year, we had a 100% pass rate for everybody attending the class. And then we had 1 year where we had one person that didn't pass and that didn't want to retake the test. But otherwise, we've had nearly 100% pass rate on that. So that's coming up on Saturday, the Trenton Computer Festival and the ham cram. So we do ask everybody who's come into that to have kind of pre-studied the material, go through the study guide or whatever study materials you want, and just be prepared to go through a very fast-paced review to get going. And I know that some people have got an opinion about a cram that, well, you're not really teaching the material, right? You're teaching to the test. And I agree it's a valid criticism, but I always look at this saying that there's a tech in a day there from Bill, very good. So I kind of view it as getting your ticket is kind of getting your ticket to learn. You don't have to learn everything before you join, but you want to get your ticket in the door and then learn as you go, and then learn enough to be safe and not be dangerous and not being annoying and not be interfering with people, and not blow yourself up. And then the rest of that is learning as you go from other folks that you meet on the air and things. So I kind of view the ham cram in that light. So, and I'm sure that's what you do with yours, though, Bill, right?
Well, mine, okay. You get a booklet, all right, and there's a schedule. You see if I can get it.
Yeah, it's kind of focusing.
You can see it. All right. You register at 8 o'clock, okay, and 9 o'clock is the first session. You get 45 minutes to study the questions, okay, such as the first section. It's got 78 questions. There's all the questions for the exam, okay, with the correct answer highlighted, okay. So basically, you give them 45 minutes per section, a 15-minute break, an hour and 15 minutes for lunch. You start at 9, you end about 3:45. You give the exam at 4. I have an 87.2% passing rate. I can honestly say that with this method, okay, it's proven to be somewhat resourceful. And this one girl took it. She went home. She went over to her friend's house, and she goes, I got my ham license, and her father was a ham. And he goes, well, where did you do that? And she says, oh, down at Ham Exposition. So he called me on the phone, okay, and he screamed at me, and he goes, you're not teaching him anything. I said, look, they have the book. I says, there's reference materials in the back. I says that they can read. I says, I told them, I says, you can read all this stuff after the fact. I mean,
yeah. We kind of take the other tack with ours, where I kind of review the concepts rather than the specific questions. So it's just one kind of step removed from what you're doing, but they both reach the same goal: is to get people aware enough of the things that they need to be cognizant of to get on the air, and then learn after that.
Yeah, and my take on that. My take on that is, if they have the drive to study for the test, then that's the most important part of all. How they get the answers to me is almost irrelevant.
Yeah. Looks like we got Charlie's on, but no video. So we got Anthony on here as well.
And we got Joe.
Hello, everybody. Yes, I have no video today, no camera.
Okay.
So just wanted to say hi.
All right.
I was reading on one of the
what this thing here represents is all 423 questions. Okay, I sign them up at least a month in advance, and I tell them to buy the technician book, and I tell them to go online and watch the videos at W4EEY. I tell them to play around in hamstudy.org in the study mode, where they can actually go against the questions without, failing, okay? If they don't know, they can click don't know, and it'll give them the answer. And 4 or 5 questions later, it comes up, and it asks them again, okay? Just to see if they're paying attention. I mean, people with no experience, no electronics, whatever. You try to help them out the best you can.
Well, there's a lot of learning, I guess, they have to learn after they get that license. I follow a group on Facebook. Right. I follow a group on Facebook, and I was reading one yesterday. The guy says, I'm taking my test today. He said, I'm taking my test today. I haven't got a radio yet, but I'm thinking about getting this Baofeng U5 RV. And he said, I have a question. I live here in California. Will that provide me reliable communications with my brother and sister in Georgia and Mississippi? This is the radio I'm thinking about. And I'm thinking, wow, he's gonna have some severe learning after he gets a license.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't the Baofeng have one that does D-Star or DMR or one of them?
I don't know that any of them will do
I
that.
don't know.
But, I mean,
I don't
you
do
know,
DMR or digital radio.
You know, I guess it's all right. You know, you're using the
just
internet.
not like
Hey,
anything.
you know, my
About
thoughts
thanks.
are you're using the internet to talk to people on. You could easily do a Skype or Zoom with them. It'd probably be cheaper.
But you know,
Echolink.
that's the cool
Echolink
thing
works.
about ham radio is you've got that versatility of
Yeah.
doing what you like and don't doing
Yeah.
what doesn't interest you.
Well, it's a lot different now than it was 50 or 60 years ago when I got my license. It's completely new people. You know, it's all digital age, new young people, and that's just where ham radio is today.
Yeah. But you know what's interesting is I find that no matter how the people get in the hobby or what they're, with the digital stuff and everything else, inevitably a large percentage of those gravitate back to CW and want to learn and work CW.
Yes, Glenn, really.
I am 40 years later. 40 years after getting my first license, I'm about 90% CW now because I've just dove back into it the last couple of years.
Although I was watching this new TV show called I Was There on the Discovery Channel, and they were talking about the Jonestown, Pennsylvania flood in the 1800s, and the CW key or the telegraph key on the desk was a vibraplex paddle, and I'm like,
I think I saw it somewhere. Yeah.
I'm like, this ain't quite right. Who's your continuity expert here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it could be used if you're just going to bang one side of it.
Yeah, but that's what they were doing.
Hey.
And I'm like, no.
Hey, I don't know if you guys saw it or not. In QST this month, there's an article in there, a QRPP transmitter. I'm going to build it for the show, and it's potato powered. You
Wow.
power the QRP rig with potatoes.
This is the April issue, is it not?
Oh, wait a minute, man. Wait, I got to go back and look again. I got to go back now. This is the April issue, but I
haven't gotten my April issue yet, but it is the April issue coming up.
It just came in yesterday, and I haven't had a chance to open it. They got you, Tom.
Well, I don't know if they did or not. Hey, look. Well, hey, first of all, I know. I mean, I do know a potato will put out voltage, and to get the voltage and current he needed, he had to series. I think 5 or 6 potatoes. Now, he had voltage and current measurements out of each potato, and also it's proven that, and he even cooked the potatoes, and a cooked potato will give you more voltage and current than a raw potato.
And how do you determine the polarity to put these things in series?
Well, you've got a zinc plate and a copper plate, that you put in them. So
a penny, and then whatever you use at the other one, you measure the voltage across them. So.
Tom, I got a bridge I'd like you to invest in with me.
Well, you're absolutely right. It is an April issue, but I think it's I looked at the diagram. It looks like it will work.
It would have gotten me too.
No, it looks like it'll work.
It's
QRPP, and what they're using, Glenn, they're using a little TXCO, like I'm putting on a tracker here, that runs about 1 milliwatt. It's like a voltage tuned.
Theoretically, they could probably actually do that.
Yeah.
However, I do not believe that in an April issue of QST that would actually be a functional
Now, he did say he made a contact with his club 3 miles away. Now that sounds, if he'd said I made a DX contact with it, I'd be questioning it, but I mean, it all looks, the diagram looks right.
That just says whoever it is a very good writer.
The diagram looks right to me. I know a potato will put out voltage, it'll put out current.
Yeah.
I think it'll work. I think it'll work. So,
the guy in Idaho trying to sell potatoes.
Yeah. So hey,
now, if you want to get more power, you got to go with the sweet potato because everybody knows that there's more energy in sugar.
Have you not seen a commercial, the Idaho potato on the back of that 18-wheeler?
Yeah. Now that one would probably power a linear.
That'll do a linear, man. Yeah, yeah.
But they would have gotten me too, Tom, because
I don't look, guys.
I always forget about April
All
Fool's
right,
Day.
I'm going to prove it works. I'm going to prove it works. Okay.
This is going to be fun.
You know, I'm going to prove it works. I mean, the schematic only has 2 or 3 parts, and I know the schematic will work. If you put a battery on it, it'll work. The only thing in question here is, will a potato power it? And I'm going to do that for the show one night. I think the wife has a new thing of potatoes in there in the pantry, so I'm gonna do it for the show. We'll get over on the workbench one night, and we're gonna have a potato powered QRPP rig. Now, we'll be.
It reminds me years and years ago, and I think I've got it actually up on my website. And maybe it's something we'll share one night. Maybe we'll do it for the April episode. Is I have a list of what I call the Ultimate Electrical Engineer's Toolkit, and this includes things like a box of DBs.
A lot of
so
what?
when you need more gain, you can get pull a couple of DBs out. It has a box of negative DBs when you need to improve your return loss. It's got ideal cream, a little tube of ideal cream. So if you need an ideal diode in your circuit, you just rub this ideal cream on the diode. It's got management repellent, so you keep the management out of your lab so you can get your work done. It's available as a lab fogger or a hanging strip.
Well, you need the smoke injector. Put the smoke,
got the smoke injector. I've got the let's see. I've got a couple of other ones that were pretty good. Oh, the GAD system, not a CAD system, but a GAD system, which is a graphite aided design. It's got the resharpenable insert mode and then the flexible delete mode over here. The GAD system.
That's similar to Dave CAD. Dave Jones.
Don't forget the SWR spray.
Yes. So maybe I'll break out my list for the April show.
Oh, that would be cool. A friend of mine years ago did something on what they called the super class, because everybody was getting their extra and they needed a next level of super class. And I will have to dig that up because it will have you in tears by the time you're finished it. You have to QSL another galaxy and you can't use the bureau. Yeah, it just a whole series of those, just wonderful. It's done by Henry Wingate, K4HAL, guy I used to work with back when I was in Birmingham. Anthony, you're being awful quiet there tonight. Jump on in, and same with you, Joe.
Yeah, no, I'm just sitting here laughing my head off, Glenn.
I found a couple more here.
Glenn.
I got a tub of margin. When you need gain margin or phase margin in your design, there's a tub of margin. You got the Miller killer spray, which will kill the Miller effect of that kills the bandwidth in your design. Parasitic pesticide, table of universal fudge factors, tolerance trimming tools, all kinds of good stuff.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, actually, years ago when I got accepted as an engineer, they gave me a very similar thing, the engineer's toolkit, and there was lots of stuff in there that was very useful.
Oh, loved it. Very cool. Well, then my favorite, deadline solvent.
Yeah.
Oh, I need that.
And the other thing they gave me was a new calendar that had 3 Fridays in it.
Oh, there you go. But didn't have Saturday or Sunday.
No. Yeah, we need it by Friday.
Well, there's the potato clock. Okay. Or the potato rig. QRPPPP transmitter.
And potatoes.
Like I said, as long as you can get enough power out of those potatoes, which,
Yeah, if you stick the right electrodes into a potato.
I didn't have my mic on. You don't want to run down the potato, so they did put a switch in line.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
Does that potato deal going to work in the same conjunction as your tree that you were trying to radiate?
Well, the tree did radiate. The tree did, I think. Well, we did prove the tree did radiate. So This one, he says right here in an article, he needs, I think I think he had to put about 5 or 6 potatoes in series. But it's a good article. And he talks about, the measurements and the cooked potato versus the uncooked potato and so forth. So we're going to try this, guys. We're going to try it. I won't go to the trouble to build the network here, but I've got some of these little oscillators, so we'll just hook one up and.
I'm not familiar with the SG531.
I'm not either. The ones that I use on here, the ones I use on the tracker. They're 27 megahertz. Hey, I could work CB with it.
Oh God.
Yeah, CB powered, potato powered, whatever. So yeah.
Well, that's not a switch. That's a CW key, right? To make it a CW.
Oh, well, you know what? I guess yeah. That's what it is. That's what it is. Now he said it is a little chirpy. It'll be a little chirpy.
Is it chirpy or chippy?
It's going to be chirpy. It's going to be chirpy.
-2 to -5 volts with 8 potatoes.
Yep. All right.
Oh, I have found that license class proposal. We'll have to read it maybe next week or something, because it'll be a good 5 to 10 minute read.
All right.
But it was superbly put together. You've got to have a DXCC above 500. Holder of a 50 word a minute or greater code award. And
this actually gives me an idea. I might actually do an April Fool's video with my my Ultimate Engineer's toolkit. So,
oh gosh, yes, that would be fun.
I thought you were talking about the engineering kit that had the WD-40 and the duct tape.
Oh, the duct tape and the vice grip pliers. No,
it's WD-40 and WD-40 and duct tape. Is it supposed to move? Yes, then nothing wrong. No, then you put WD-40 on
if it's moving and it's not supposed to, use the duct tape.
You use
duct
tape.
It's supposed to, use the WD-40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The yin and yang of troubleshooting.
Right.
Also, Alan, you need a round to it as well.
Yes, you need a round to it. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, I love this in the chat room. Let's hope you don't fry the components.
Yeah, that's why it's chippy, not chirpy. But David's got a good point. You could use lemons instead of potatoes.
Lemons.
Yeah,
yes.
well, maybe we try. Well, yeah.
You have a two-way QSO, right? One guy's got a potato transmitter, the other's got the lemon transmitter. Let's get together and make a salad or something.
I wonder how hard it'd be to make a receiver, just a simple single transistor
receiver out of a potato battery.
Running on a potato.
You got to check in with Bill over at the Solder Smoke podcast. He's got some buddies that have done single transistor transceiver, really ultra low power stuff. But
yeah.
Put
a little sea salt on them. Yeah, to increase it. Yep, we can do that. Well, guys, hey, it's going to work. Hey, maybe I need to move the potato-powered transmitter up in front of my power supply here and do it first.
Yeah, you might oughta.
Maybe we need to do that first.
Yeah, have that ready for us in a week and 2 weeks.
Yeah, he says.
Unfortunately, it won't be an April 1st show, but because that's like on a Friday.
See, he says here 2 to 5 volts. He gets that with 8 potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did he use as the electrodes?
Oh, he
about
used
a penny and what else?
Let's see.
You get the copper's easy, penny or circuit board or whatever.
A copper penny is for the anode and a zinc plated nail for the cathode.
Yep.
Think plated nail. Okay.
Yeah, that's one of those articles that has so much truth in it that you almost have to go and say, this could work.
It will work.
Yeah. Now, Mike in the chat room does have a good piece of advice for you.
What's that?
And that's that you got to be aware of the
That's good, Mike.
the potato skin effect.
The skin effect. Look out for that.
Yeah.
Well done.
Now, right here, he referenced the Journal of Renewable. He references the Journal of Renewable and Sustainable Energy, 2010. That's ZNCU, vegetable batteries, bioelectrical characterizations, and primary and cost analysis. So somebody's done a big study on this already with the batteries.
That's giving it out. I mean, vegetable batteries, come on.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. KW3DX really got it right here. Launch it with a balloon, and you can call it Sputnik.
That's a good one. Oh,
that's a good one.
Yeah, it is. All right.
Yeah. Now, N7 XGR. I've got a little bit of an issue with that Himalayan salt. Yes, it is pure and all of this, but go to the grocery store. Do you realize that stuff has an expiration date?
Yeah, exactly.
It has been underground for thousands and tens of thousands of years, but it's going to expire on you next year. How do they know? How did they know to get it out now? Because in another year you couldn't sell any.
Well, that's the same way with bananas. They pick them at a certain ripeness and then ship them, and they know on the salt.
Well, they do the same. Actually, eggs are the same way.
Yeah.
It's.
All right. I will try. I'm going to try to have the potato thing working for the show next week. That means my power supply got to get put to the side, but I'm going to do it. We're not going to build out the low pass filter here or whatever that is. Looks like yeah. I'm just going to take the oscillator and put a wire on it.
Yeah, you're going to need to get your bird out for that one.
Well, it's going to be so low. He says this is only 1 milliwatt. I can use the spectrum
to your receiver on your
I
bench.
can use my spectrum analyzer here, and also I can listen for it. So I have no doubt it'll work if I can just get.
That's the scary part. The reality of it is, you probably could get a milliwatt out of a potato or a lemon.
Well, out of 8 of them, sure.
Yeah. Now, are you going to put them in parallel or series?
They'll be series.
Gotta get in series to get the voltage up.
Yeah, but parallel, you get the current.
Yeah, but if each one is only giving you a half a volt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you won't be able to get over the silicon junction.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
But you get one of those little, 3 volt or 2.5 volt, low power oscillators. You can do a little better, maybe.
Well, I've got a bunch of those. I've got a bunch of those 27 megahertz oscillators that I put on the tracker. They're just like that. I have to put them on the tracker here with the air heat. They're really small, but
yeah. Let's see, 27 meg. Let's see, it's going to be rich in odd harmonics. It's the square wave, so you're not going to be able to get 6 meters. Because if you had the second harmonic, you get 6 meters, but you probably get a lot of the third harmonic, which isn't going to help you much.
Well, I'm just going to tune it in.
The fifth will get
I'm just going to tune it in on
2 meters, right?
I'm just going to tune it in on 27.
Okay.
We'll make a contact out of band.
All right.
Probably it'll be legal. I mean, 1 milliwatt with it probably isn't going to go more.
You're just going to have to learn things like 10-4 and things like that.
It probably isn't going to go more than 5 feet. So Yeah, I'm going to do it. Okay. All right. Next week we'll do it.
Well, see, now you've created a whole series here. You're going to do it with the potatoes. You're going to do it with the lemon. And then, like Dwayne said, you're going to have to do it with a saltwater battery. you're going to have to try all of these alternative energy sources.
Well, we can do that. Since we have the transmitter built, it's just a matter of connecting it to different sources. So,
Hey, Tom,
yeah.
I was listening last night to AWL radio news, and they were talking about these people that are developing a battery using chlorine, a chlorine-based type battery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you hear about it at all?
I think I've heard of that. Yeah.
I find it very intriguing.
Well, hey, in our flights, our balloon flights, there's not a battery. Well, there's a primary battery will work at our altitude. It's so cold, a primary battery will work. That's like a non-rechargeable single cell, battery. A LiPo battery, it won't work. It won't work over about 20,000 feet. The temperature shuts it off. But in our research and trying to find a battery to use for our flights, I did find a nuclear battery or an atomic battery, but it was really expensive. It was like $1,000,
and
it didn't put out. It didn't put out enough current. It didn't put out enough current to power our tracker.
Well, you get about 300 or 400 of those in series and parallel.
Yep.
And you can do it. Start the collection now.
Well, my understanding, the way they were talking about the process is getting the chlorine back to its normal state after, I guess they have a component there that they use as a sponge that soaks in the chlorine and reverts it back to like salt or something, chloride or whatever the hell they call it, so they can reuse it or something with the battery.
I don't know. Huh.
Yeah, but but the thing is, chlorine's an element.
Right. Well, and what the concern they had was, if you leave it in a chlorine state, it's going to be detrimental to the battery because it can, I guess, explode or whatever.
Explode. It'll corrode it. It'll eat through it. A little bit of everything.
Right.
Well, I think, hey, here's another one. We can probably stack up, alternate nickels and pennies and put some spit between them.
Oh.
Now, I think that'll work too. Are y'all familiar with that?
No, I ain't done that one.
Yeah, that'll work. That's an experiment.
But they're probably going to have to be, pre-1990 nickels.
Yeah, I don't know how much we can get out of it, but yeah. Just put a little.
I thought you were going to say pre-1990 spit. I don't know what come up with that.
Yeah.
Well, and the same thing goes with the pennies. I mean, the modern pennies aren't really copper anymore, aren't they? Pretty much zinc these days.
Well, you could use just copper-clad PCB board, right?
I got regular copper strip here.
Folks, for me, it's 10:30, and it seems my dog is sitting by the back door waiting for me to take her out.
All right, man. Well, look, we'll let you go. Hey, good to see you tonight.
All right.
We'll see you next week.
We'll see you again later on. Good to see
Bye,
everybody.
Alan.
All right.
Take care, Alan.
Take care, Charlie. Anthony, Joe, Glenn.
Easy.
See you next
take care
week.
now.
Ciao.
All right. Well, this is going to be a fun thing to try to do. Now, I'll have to clean my workbench off. I got this other project all spread out over there. I'll just rake it all off into a bucket or something. Make some room here, and this is going to be fun.
Yeah, it could be really interesting to do a whole comparison on the alternative sources like the lemons and the potatoes and salt water and all that stuff.
And see, I bet nobody's ever done this. We build up this 20-meter QRPP rig. It's powered by some potatoes, and then we run that into a little bitty amplifier running on a battery or something, and then another little amplifier, and then we get it up to a kilowatt. And we tell the people our exciter is a potato-powered exciter.
Yep. Assuming you can get that first step to work, you've got it.
Yeah, and I think we could do that too.
Anyway, I've got to head out, people. It's 1:30 in the afternoon, and I have
All
things
right.
I have to do. So,
All right. Well, we will see you later. Good to see you again tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Don't worry. I'll catch up with you next week. Bye now.
Bye.
See ya, Jeff.
All right, I just posted the link in here again. If anybody wants to join us on Zoom, there's the link. Well, you know,
So, Charlie,
Glenn,
what happened to you?
our little 10 milliwatt transmitter, it's heard 9,000 miles away, but that's of course whisper.
Hey, Tom, a question.
Yeah.
With suppose the nuclear battery was good enough, and what happens when it falls down and falls into, for example, the highway, and some truck passes over it, and all the nuclear radioactive stuff wanders around about?
Well, a battery that size, you probably get more nuclear energy out of a X-ray.
Or maybe the dials off of a wristwatch. I don't know. It wasn't much. It wasn't much at all.
Yeah, but you know, that was the one thing. They pulled all those radio, you know, I remember as a kid, I got one of those Timex watches with the radium dials.
Yeah.
And they pulled those off the market because, did they ever tell us about that stuff?
You know, I don't know. I remember having one when I was a kid. I thought it was kind of
was
neat,
just
man.
like,
In the
poof,
dark,
they were
in the
gone
dark,
one
you could
day,
see. You know, in the dark, you could see it there. So.
Yeah, and eventually you figured out why, and you're like, nobody told me
And you
about
put
that.
it very close to your eyes. I remember to see it very bright. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I've got. You know what? I've got a military compass here. I think it's got that on it. Let me see. Where's my military compass?
Hey, Tom, while you're looking for your military compass, remember what they used in the 60s doing the Apollo program, getting to the moon and back for batteries?
Oh, I don't know. What was it?
It was, what was it?
Was it some kind of cell? It was some kind of high
Right.
Yeah, fuel cells, wasn't it?
Some kind of fuel cell. I don't know what was in them.
Was it like hydrogen or something?
Yeah, I think
Hydrogen
so.
and oxygen, I want to say.
Right. Something like
Yeah.
whatever it was. I can't remember exactly. Well, how about making something like that? Because I've seen where they use they've had these flashlights that they sell on TV that you can actually soak it in water to get it to charge. And isn't that the same process of what they used going to the moon and back?
I would say yes, because I think that was one of the things I saw is that when you use a fuel cell, your exhaust is moisture, water.
Right.
But
I had-
it's something that is burning something inside, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
right?
I'm not up on that technology at all.
But
I
that's
might
basic
be, but I think the
technology.
radium in my watch burned out a couple brain cells.
This is not my military. I can't find my military compass I had, but it had the green phosphor or whatever on it. This is just a little compass with a sight through it. It's pretty neat little compass. You get very accurate with it. I'm reading the dial right now. There's 350, 349. I have to find my other. Okay, well, so we've got something figured out for our show next week, and why don't we get everybody out there? There's other people out there that like to experiment. Why don't some of you guys out there put something together and test some batteries for us? Yeah, you know, even if you don't build a transmitter, hey, string some potatoes together, string some lemons together, measure the voltage, and give us a report next week on what you found out was best. I would think lemon might be better than potatoes.
Tom?
Yeah.
Last week, the Cowtown Amateur Radio Club, the club that I belong to in Fort Worth, we had an antenna building project on Saturday. It was all day, building antennas for HDs using materials made by a 3D printer. And it went very well, whether it was a tape measure antenna, whether it was an arrow antenna, and so forth. And on Thursday, we're going to be doing a presentation, a fox hunt presentation. The gentleman that's going to be doing it, he's originally from Australia. and it's going to be he's going to talk about how his experiences doing fox hunts over there, and how what we're going to do over here, and what basically what a fox hunt is all about, and how do you try to find the fox. And then basically, because what we did last month, we had the 3D printer presentation for the antenna building, using a 3D printer presentation for the antenna. And in May, we're going to actually be taking the presentation and the workshop and put it into practice. We're going to actually have a fox hunt in May. I think it's being pushed back in May, here in town, and to see how the antennas that we built are going to work hunting a fox. So that should be pretty interesting.
That's good.
Cool.
I've been fox hunting only once, and it was like an activity we made before one of the balloon flights we made with the club, and it was just to make an activity with all the hams and everything. And but I didn't know anything about fox hunting. But then I realized, when I saw other people that were into that it's an art. It was really interesting, and to see them, they had really interesting tricks and things to be able to get the fox.
Now, what makes fox hunting very difficult is you put that radio transmitter on a real fox. That makes it a little bit harder to track down.
I was going to say, put it on a little flying drone, and after every transmission, have it hop about 50 yards.
Yeah, that would work. Oh, man.
This is why they won't let me run a fox hunt.
Now, I got an idea. Hey, for a fox hunt, if we have a fox, let's make a little transmitter, and when get the gang together, they all got their antennas and everything, out there, and let's slip it in the guy's back pocket and he don't know it. He doesn't know it,
Yeah, all you got to do is put the potato in his back pocket.
Yeah, just slip the little transmitter in his back pocket and let everybody go fox hunting. What? Man, I've got it. Wait a minute. Where is it? It's this way. No, it's that way.
You can get it small enough, it would be a very interesting thing to do.
Yeah. Man, hey, the weather's
why
good.
Why are y'all pointing at me?
I think the weather is starting to warm up. I think I'm going to go up and take my rotors down. I got to get my satellite station back on the air. So I guess I need to get my rotors down. And I hate working on those things. They're messy.
I've got to rebuild my cobweb. The pine trees from the neighbor kind of did things to my wires on the cobweb.
Yeah,
it does that.
Snapped a whole bunch of them.
Unfortunately, those antennas that we were building over the weekend, you can actually use them if you have trouble with hitting your repeater, because they're basically high gain antennas, and you can use them besides fox hunting, you can also use them for AMSAT, for communicating with satellites.
Yeah.
Besides fox hunting, and I can't remember what else, but there's a multiple. They have multiple applications for them, and whether they're single band or dual band antennas.
Oh.
Yep.
That's on my list of things to get, is a 3D printer, hopefully by the end of the year.
Man, I don't say a 3D printer. You can make a crescent wrench with a 3D printer, where you turn the little deal and it opens and closes. I don't see how that thing can print something like that, man.
Well,
hey, Tom, you know what I'm also hearing? That even if you don't have a 3D printer, they have these files where you can go down to your public library where they have them, and you can actually print the parts up what you're trying to build.
Yes.
Yeah, but
it might take a while.
It depends. Some of those projects take 3 or 4 hours.
Some long, some all day. Yeah,
3 or 4 days.
Yeah, some long. Yeah. So I don't think I'm gonna do 3D. I thought, hey, that might be nice to get a 3D printer, but then I thought I'd probably print 1 or 2 things. It would take 14 hours to print something that I wouldn't use. So I don't know.
Now, it's on my list of things because I already have a whole bunch of things I want to do with it.
Yeah, so I've got a 3D printed here. Let's see if I can. Oh boy. Yeah.
What are they, about $3,000 there,
down.
Glenn?
No,
Oh, no.
The Ender 3 they had for sale at Micro Center in St. Louis for like $300.
You can get them for a couple
Exactly.
$100.
Yes,
$300.
yes. There-
All right, so
Yes.
this is 3D printed.
Yep.
That's 3D printed right
It's
there.
becoming, because it's very expensive to send to print, at least here, because of the time it takes. So
Yeah.
you send something to print, and it takes them their machine hours to print.
Oh
Yep,
yeah.
Yep.
So it becomes they're cheap enough so for you to have a printer if you really need it. But the worst thing that can happen is that you don't use it much and you sell it or give it away. So I don't know. I think the most difficult part with the 3D printer is learning to use the proper software.
Yeah.
Because the only thing, I made a couple of things in the 3D printer. I don't have a 3D printer, but I had a guy that had one, so I could tell him to print. But remember when I did that kit with the Nixie clocks with my kit, we made a 3D printed box, and it's the first time we did it we were very lucky because it came out really nice and as we wanted. But then it's not that easy. You try to the software. You have to get, if you want to do something really precise and everything, you have to learn to use a proper software, which takes you have a big learning curve.
Oh yeah. That's why it's not at the front end of my list of things to get. It's on the back end.
So you have like millions of designs in Thingiverse and everywhere in the internet that if you come across the piece you need, you can print it. But then if you want to do something yourself,
Oh man.
it has a learning.
Look what
put that thing up close to your eyes, Tom.
Look what I found here. And look, hey, on the back, it's got a radioactive symbol on the back.
Oh, that's cool.
Look at there. It says warning, keep compass at least 30 meters away from body at all times.
30 meters?
Away from body at all times.
Now stop and think about that. How can you use it if it's 30 meters away? Do you send somebody else to go look at it?
Hey, this is a cool compass. Look how it works. You just you open that up like that. You open this up like that. You've probably seen these. There you go.
Yeah.
You put your thumb in there like that, and you can, you can look through it. Oh, I'm closer than 30 meters. Now, it does have the,
it will always be closer than 30 meters.
It should be glowing right now. Of course, I got the lights on, but
keep that up, and you will be too.
Let's see what it says here. It says AEC. Well, what's that? Atomic Energy Commission, right?
Yes.
AEC license number. Can't make it out.
Not anymore.
AEC you might make it. Let's see. AEC license number. You can almost read the number there. It contains
75 micro no sé qué radioactive H3. What's H is?
I think that's what you not
tritium, right?
I think this is what they're supposed to give to the enemy.
Yeah.
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 Let them keep it closer than 30 meters.
Yeah, I'd love to bring the Geiger counter close to that.
Yeah. This would probably set it off right here. It might even set my smoke detector off here, Yeah.
Well, the good news is, Tom, you won't need any more night lights. You'll be able to just get out of bed and glow in the dark.
Yeah, 75 milli something MC, radioactive.
Megacycles.
Yeah, radioactive.
Megacycles?
I can't.
H3, that's H3 is tritium, right?
I don't
That's
know.
radioactive.
I can read it better in the camera than I can read it. See, I can hold it still. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, that's H3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's H3, man. Have to look that up. I don't know what H3 is.
Tritium. I think it's a.
I just noticed that once I found it over in a drawer of the room, it gotten a little warmer. I think the room has heated up a couple degrees since I got this out. It says you must open. Let's see. Oh yeah, millicuries. That's what it is.
There you go.
Papa Doc here. He's our doctor. WA4YYM. Doc, you ought to join us on our Zoom here. You used to join us. Papa Doc, being a doctor, he knows all about those millicuries and all that stuff, I guess. I learned about them at school, but you probably have practical knowledge of them. You hold it up real close to your eyeball like this. What it does two things. You can find direction. It also takes cataracts off your eye.
Yeah. Yeah, and think of how many thousands of those had to have been built and issued to the military back in the 60s.
Yeah, I wonder if they want this one back. I guess I'm past the what do you call that? That limit where where
the half-life.
No, the limit where they come get you.
Statute of limitations.
Yeah, statute of limitations. I guess I'm probably past the statute of limitations, man.
Well, actually, I was just skimming, and it said the half-life on tritium is like 40 years.
Oh, really?
So that thing has probably exceeded its half-life.
Well, you figure it's over 40 years now.
Yeah, I mean,
For the
I've had this probably 50 years. So, but that just means it's half as strong, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in another 40 years, it'll be half as strong as that. So.
Yeah.
Be a quarter.
Well, I remember when I first got this thing, you could set a canteen, water in it. You could set a canteen on it and boil water for your coffee. When we first got it, I don't think it'd do that now.
Is it still glowing green, or it doesn't work anymore?
Well, let me go in the dark and see. Let me look here.
Because I was changing some tweets the other day with a guy that he goes around and gets all radioactive stuff, and well, he's like an expert in that. And he was telling me that the radioactive, you have two components in that one, which is the radioactive one, and one which is the phosphorus one.
Well, I went in the dark in the closet, and I don't see anything.
Yeah, because he told me that the radioactivity breaks down the phosphorus part of the component. So with time, it's not that it's not radioactive, but it's not as much. It's not fluorescent. That's the word. Anyway.
Yeah. I don't know why. Man, I lost my other one.
So in these 50 years, it's not radioactive anymore, or it's not it's fluorescent anymore. So.
Well, it's not. It doesn't appear to be fluorescent. Oh wait, it says here, if found, return to military authorities. Dispose of per. They got some number. Oh, and it says do not open. It's got 4 little screws on the back, and it says do not open.
Yeah, that's what makes you glow in the dark.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I like this one better. This is a much cooler compass. It's machined, looks like machined aluminum or something, and got a sight. You can look through the sight hole there. You can actually read.
Yeah, Don got it right. That's just going to be another knock on your door, Tom.
Yeah, right.
Except this
I'm not
time,
telling him where he lives.
I was going to say, except this time it won't be the local SWAT team. It'll be the Men in Black.
I got a friend. I've got a friend who's been flying some balloons, and of course they all go over to China. He said one day this black limousine pulled up in front of his house, and 3 Chinese guys in suits got out, and they came up and knocked on the door. He said he did not go to the door.
Yeah, that's right. Smoke detectors have a little bit of radioactive material in them as well.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let me just make a quick announcement here. We're running toward the end of the show. If you're listening to us, guys, this has been 2 hours of fun. Our first hour is about ham radio. It's called Amateur Radio Roundtable. This last hour is our show. No, it's after the show. I always mess it up. After the show, where we invite people into the show through Zoom, and we talk about just a lot of things, and we have a lot of fun on here. So if you're out there listening on WBCQ on 7490, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email to tom@w5kub.com, and tune us in on Tuesday nights. Just go to w5kub.com, and you can actually watch the show. It's a video show. You can watch it. You can check in our chat room and just join us. All right. We got about 7 more minutes here before our radio station time slot goes out. You got any new projects?
I have a kudo.
Well, what is that?
I said I got a kudo.
Oh, did you? Cool.
Yeah, in the Ham Radio Prep Student Success Group.
Okay.
This lady, Dee Rasmussen from North Carolina, says, I did it. I passed this afternoon the amateur extra exam, 48 out of 50. And the highlights are she decided to take her technician on the 21st of January.
Yeah.
She ran into a stump because they canceled the local test session. So she posted on here, and I told her to go on to Ham Study Sessions and look for something on Sunday if she was ready. So she took her license for technician on the 13th of February, took her general on the 28th of February. And then I said to her, I says, as she was leaving, I says, well, we'll see you back in a couple of weeks for your extra. Well, darn it. On the 13th of March, she came and took her test, and she passed it. I mean, she was 35 out of 35 on the tech, 35 out of 35 on the general, and 48 out of 50 on the extras. Now, and she had 2 surgeries for cataracts in between. So, I mean, you know.
I think I had a 48 out of 50 on my extra exam, but I was arguing over 2 questions I missed.
Did you send your nasty note to the ARRL?
It wasn't worth it. I had the ticket.
Well, I had a 59
Well,
out of...
no, I'm just saying I'm sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say I had 59 out of 60, but that was with the M16.
But no, it was one of those, I hadn't done those calculations in 30 years, so I might have been wrong, but I don't think I was.
Well, Glenn, I'm happy to announce that you no longer have to do trigonometry to figure out the phase angles. They
Oh,
have
God.
They have these calculators at Wally World, TI 36X Pro. It's a box over box type thing there. You don't have to worry about y equals
Oh.
y.
Lord.
Mm.
No, it was, determining resonance and the Q factor of a circuit,
Yeah.
And I used to be able to do that in my head.
Oh Lord, not me. I had to
Yeah.
have my pocket rocket.
Now, actually, when I was in high school, we got a pair of the first TI, calculators, the SR10. And I was still on a slide rule, and I could out-calculate anybody on their calculator with the slide rule. It's like, who needs a calculator? I got this. And it don't need batteries.
Slide
Don't need
rule.
solar power either.
Yeah. And, gosh, I was just a teenager at that age. And then this horrible thing happened. I discovered women, and I haven't been able to use the slide rule since.
All right. Slide rules. You're talking about slide rules. I had to get mine out.
Oh, I got mine in the other room.
There we go. There we go, boys. There we go. Probably there's a lot of people on here, new people that, even old people, don't even know what this is. But this is what we used to use. This is what we used in college to flunk all of our exams with. Right here. I can still multiply like 2 times 3 on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can still do 2 times 3
on that
and get 6 and all that kind of stuff, and I might could figure out how to do a square root, if I.
Oh yeah. I mean, there was a time I could use every function on that thing, but if
you really back then
decoration.
Back then, if nowadays if you're a geek, you see, we didn't even have 2 meters back then, so nobody had handy talkies. But like now, everybody, you want to be a geek, you walk around with your handy talkie on. Well, back then we wore this.
Yeah, we wore that and a pocket protector.
We wore that on our hey man, that looks like it. That's a pretty big thing to wear.
But yeah, I mean, you have to remember the handheld calculator didn't really become publicly available until like 72, 73. So I mean, everything before then was the slide rule.
Yeah. See, I went off to school in '66. That kind of ages me, but that's when I started college in '66. So yeah, I was born in the wrong time of the century, man. I mean, I needed calculators. I would have done much better if I had a calculator.
Yeah, I mean, I quickly transitioned to the calculator, but I learned on the slide rule to begin with. Nowadays I just fire up the calculator under Windows and use that.
Yeah, I think the square root was pretty easy on the slide rule, if I remember right. It's been a long time since I used it.
Once you figured it out, a lot of the functions on it were very simple. Very quick and very easy.
All right, guys, we have run into the end of our shortwave show. Thanks to everybody out there for tuning in on shortwave and listening tonight. Thank you for all you guys that are in our chat room. We've had a good time with you tonight, and we'll see you next week. 73 to everybody. Have fun. Be safe.
Okay. Bye.
All right. We'll see you, Charlie.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
Time to go get a snack. We'll catch y'all next week.
All right. We'll see y'all.
Don't tell the cat you take